Let them know why you the bad character.
I only come out when the sky gets dark. In the nighttime, we get shark-like. When it's the right time, I run around town scalping old folks with butter knives. No regards for nothing, we all up on the gutter life. I keep it on the down low, just like a terrorist. Planning out the illest shit, but always keep it errorless. I'm like the bully that started out in the first grade, picking out the chumps in class, that's when the nurse came. Sticking pencils in the hand of the principal. There's nothing you can tell me cause I'm feeling indispensable. Yo, it's the bad character, you know the routine. Smoking Doja in the back of the church with rap too clean. Hey Willie, I'll never grow up, I got toys for my hookers. The last person that took us is permanently swimming with fishes. I give a what you think of my life, hitting every wife, cause we all up on strife.
Once upon a time, there was a 97-pound weakling named Seymour.
I'm Seymour.
Who was always pushed around by mean bullies.
I'm a mean bully.
They would steal Seymour's girls at the beach.
Give me that girl.
They would steal his food at the restaurant.
Give me that food.
And they would steal his jar full of money.
And give me that money.
No. Tie you up to the back of my car. Take a far trip after 10 drinks at a bar. It's like a belt, yo, I be hitting mad tail. Doom's nominated for the best road L's. Quaz is nominated for the best sold spells. Madlib's often hated cause he has less sales. The new breed, Quasimodo takeover. Connect the dots so we could get the shake rover. Leave a taste of baked soda. Thought I told you to take a fist like you was my stepson, the chosen one. Come and get some. Like one time, this brother blew my bathroom up trying to get relief, but didn't know I rub my toilet paper on poison ivy leaf. I give a what you think of my life, hitting every wife, cause we all up on strife.
Do I feel happy in life? Let's see. Let's say I hope I'm finding happiness. All right? Well, for me, if I can realize certain things in my work, I come the closest to being happy, and I can say that also about my life. Well, it only happens, I think, in moments, sometimes when I'm working, and I'll be able to fulfill a scene truthfully, and then I think I'm the happiest. Well, I find it very stimulating to keep studying and working, but I'm not just generally happy. If I'm generally anything, I guess I'm generally miserable. I don't know.
Yes, Jim, what is it?
Well, Mr. Evans, Miss Black wanted me to bring this to you.
Oh? Won't you sit down, Jim? I understand you have an unusual pencil, Jim.
Yes, sir. That is, it's nothing special.
But you're rather proud of it.
It has my name on it. I won it in an essay contest.
May I see it? Personally, I think that something like this is better for carving.
I'll fix the desk, Mr. Edmonds. I'll sand it down and refinish it. You won't be able to tell where I scratched it at all.
That's a good idea, Jim.
I'll begin today after school.
That would be fine.
Well, what else do you want me to do, Mr. Edmonds?
Perhaps you can help me with a problem. I'd like your advice, Jim.
My advice?
Yes, I've got quite a serious problem. There are a great many young people in the school, Jim. Each is an individual, but in one important way, they're all alike. They're all growing up.
Is that the problem, Mr. Edmonds?
Yes, growing up is a problem. Because, well, I remember one time I watched some of the boys play ball. You've probably seen it too. The boys were all about your age. In years, they're young men. But sometimes in their behavior...
They act like children?
That's it. The boy batting struck out, and what a fuss he made. He was a young man in years, but the way he behaved was more in keeping with a 5-year-old. When you see a child do the same thing, you think, oh, well, he'll grow up sometime. But at 15 or 16, this boy was still reacting the same way. He was still showing violent temper when little things went wrong for him. So the question is, why doesn't he grow up? Why does he still behave as a child? How can we help him get rid of these leftovers from childish behavior? That sort of behavior we call an infantile reaction.
Infant? Well, whatever it is, it spoils the game for others. Why can't he act his age?
Eyewitness, the big news of this week. Tonight, witness Marilyn Monroe. Why? This program brought to you by Polaroid Corporation, maker of the Polaroid Land Camera.
By this time, the real Marilyn Monroe had arrived. She was a star, bigger than life-size to everyone but herself. Every girl's dream. It isn't easy to be a star identified with sex. Kim Novak is a star, and she knows.
You can trust who are really your friends, because so often people will seem like it, and then the slightest thing alters, and that shifts also. Everything keeps moving about, so it's never the same. You just don't really know where you're at all the time.
It's because you feel people are treating you as a movie star, a thing, rather than a person.
Yes, it was so beautifully put by Marilyn. I had read the article today and was very impressed by it. I remember once the head of publicity at the studio said to me, just remember, never forget that all you are is a piece of meat, you know? It's like in a butcher shop, you know? And it's a pretty awful thing to think about, to think that that's what you are, that you have to look at yourself that way. And the worst part is that you're treated that way. And Marilyn said it so well about the fact that people don't seem to mind saying it right to your face or talking about you in ways in which, you know, it's fine for someone. You like to have criticism, like helpful criticism or anything, but somehow they almost overdo it. It seems sometimes almost deliberate, like as if they think that, well, we don't want to get her to get a swollen head, so we'll just starve her from the heart, everything, you know, not let her have anything, not ever say anything nice, you know.
In some deep sense, the public demands unhappiness of its idols. It's part of the price the public extracts for the fame and riches it showers upon them. In Marilyn Monroe's case, unhappiness was not difficult to extract. It was there to begin with. And as her public image grew, she began to withdraw increasingly upon herself and her unhappiness. It grew harder to face the public, to face the cameras even. She began to take lots of pills. She went to a psychoanalyst. She saw friends, of course, but somehow even friends could not mitigate her loneliness, although they tried, according to their different understandings of her trouble. It is perhaps a mark of how little she was understood that her friends are as hard put as anyone else to explain what happened. We will hear about her from some of those who knew her best after this message.
Juicy Juice. 100% juice for 100% kids.
Lee Strasberg, her friend and teacher, delivered the eulogy at Marilyn's funeral. Harry Reasoner asked him last night about reports that her life was increasingly tangled.
Well, in the first place, there was not as much of a mess as has been made out. I mean, the actual thing that happened at the end is naturally a tragic one. But in the first place, whatever happened to her before goes back a long time, obviously, to early childhood, which created deep disturbances within her and deep emotional problems. Her whole career, obviously, was a series of continuous pressures to which she was subjected, and subjected by the very people that now speak very glibly about the kind of person that she was and how disturbed she was and so on, and forget that often the reactions that she had were caused by the very things that were done to her.
Jean Negulesco, director of one of her first smash hit films, How to Marry a Millionaire. What was Marilyn Monroe like to work with?
Well, as the director of the first intimate cinemascope picture, How to Marry a Millionaire, we became friends, and we had a problem, a big problem. So we had difficulties in doing this picture a little more than the usual ordinary picture, and we needed more cooperation from the actors than usually. I found Marilyn Monroe alert, enthusiastic, and especially a hunger for being, for knowledge, for being better. And this probably accounts for the name she got of being late. But she wanted so much to be so perfect for it that she always retarded her arrival in front of the camera. The quality Marilyn had is that she never felt that she was ready to face that camera. For that reason, she took 2 hours to fix her lips, or an hour and a half to arrange her hair and change it and so on. But the moment she arrived in the front of the camera, there was this romance, this love affair between her and the lens. And she gave something which nobody was able to catch during the life but the camera. You see, the camera to us is still that extraordinary mystery which we never know what it will catch, because we all think we're always making great successes, you know, and until the film gets together, the camera has caught the success or the flop. As an actress, she always wanted to find a key, a simple answer to the character she had to portray. In How to Marry a Millionaire, I made a sketch of her, and I showed her the sketch, and she liked it, but she still was not convinced and find the key. So during the one scene we had, when she was walking around telephoning, and I saw her trying more or less to, let's say, sell the sex of what everybody believes that Marilyn Monroe is and believed in. It was this symbol. I came to her and I said, Marilyn, don't try to sell the sex. You are sex. You are the institution of sex. He says the only key to this party is that you're blind as a bat without glasses. And her big blue eyes, open, and she says, that's the key.
George Cukor, director of Something's Got to Give, the film from which he was fired last June. Robert Shackney asks the questions.
Marilyn was an actress who you'd have to produce her more than direct her. She, if you let her have her own head, she did things that were quite original and quite enchanting.
Is it true that performers who are unusually good, who stand out, are frequently temperamental?
Yes, but so everybody else. The great thing, everybody has doubts and difficulties and fears, but the great thing is if you can overcome it and you can function in spite of them.
Did Marilyn?
Well, apparently not, poor darling. You see what happened to her.
The feeling now is that Hollywood destroyed Marilyn Monroe and her innate creative abilities. Would you, as a man who knows Hollywood, say that there's substance to something like that?
Well, I think that's, of course, an awful lot of nonsense, and I think people are jumping in with all kinds of sensational and rather silly statements, from my point of view, and big generalities, I suppose under the stress of emotion. I don't know why, and I'm surprised that rather intelligent people have said that. I don't know why. What do you mean Hollywood destroyed her? Hollywood, in a sense, created her.
Other pretty girls with good figures and platinum blonde hair did some of the same things that Marilyn did, but when they did it, it was vulgar. When Marilyn did it, it had something. What was the difference?
Well, for all her flash, Marilyn was a very distinguished creature in her own way. The clothes may have been absurd, but she had a distinguished mind, and she was unique, and she had a quality of excitement she was a real movie queen. Just even when she was fully dressed with a big fur coat on and she ran across the screen, you followed her. There was this curious excitement with her. I would always have such pleasure in watching her work with these very, very high heels, which never seemed to interfere with her, and she'd run and she'd jump, and there was always an enormous interest in her. Mrs. Patrick Campbell said many years ago, Mrs. Patrick Campbell was a very witty woman, who said about Tallulah Bankhead, she said, watching Tallulah on the stage was like watching somebody skate on very thin ice. And the secret of her success in England was that the English wanted to be there when she fell through. Well, one always felt that, somehow, about Marilyn.
Playwright Clifford Odets, a friend of her third husband, Arthur Miller, also a friend of Marilyn's. What was the burden that Marilyn Monroe carried with her?
Well, Charles, talking in terms of burdens about Marilyn, I would like to use a term that astronomers use. They frequently talk of a star. Marilyn was a star. They talk of a bright and visible star as being accompanied by another invisible star, which they call a dark companion. They mean by that the bright and visible star seems to be acting erratically. It won't stay in the orbit that they have preordained for it, as an example. And they then realize that the bright and visible star is being pulled out of orbit. Its pathways or trackways are being determined by an invisible star, which they call a dark companion. And about Marilyn, I feel that always in her life, her adult and working life, the years of her fame, she was accompanied by this kind of dark companion. And what would that be in her life? Those would be the early and what I think are the invincible patterns of childhood. They would have to do with a severely mother-deprived life. They would have to do with not being wanted as a child, being shunted from foster home to foster home. They would have to do with being not only deprived, but even from her point of view, despised, rejected, unneeded, so that the total result was a very severe lack of self-esteem on her part. And always, this luminous star traveled with this dark companion. When she was working in front of a camera, there she had to be in full panoply, ready for everything, ready to grapple with any emergency. And it was not her nature. She was too uncertain. She was too shy. She would brave out things. The fact that she was dilatory so often meant that she had an unconscious, deep resistance to standing there and working at the moment. She felt she didn't look her best. She felt she couldn't work her best that hour. And then she would try to dodge the working problem. She lacked what I would say a well-trained circus pony has. She lacked flexibility. She lacked tractability. She lacked cynicism. If she'd been more cynical and just approached the work as not only a craftsman, but just in a kind of easy way, well, I brought myself there, they've photographed my body, now I can go about more important things. If she'd had that kind of cynicism, she might have been happier, but that was not her nature. Her nature was sensitive, intuitive, idealistic.
Clifford, how will Marilyn Monroe be remembered?
She has been a legend in her lifetime. This is obvious. It need not even be said. But I think that now that she's gone, she will become an even greater legend. I feel it in the air everywhere I go. People were very shocked about her death. But there's a feeling that the legend is spreading, that she will be more vivid, fresher and greener in death than she was in life.
I'll be back with more on this legend of Marilyn Monroe in a moment after this message.
Add this.
Snoop wants to know when to add the fabric softener.
Tricky. Depends whether it's top-loading machine or front-loading.
Snoop does his own laundry? That's hot.
Snoop, you're cuddly enough as it is.
Didn't your mother teach you anything?
Fabric softener. So that's how those hip-hop guys get all the chicks.
The new T-Mobile Sidekick 2 with IM, phone, web, and more.
Everybody needs a sidekick.
Marilyn Monroe is not, of course, the first Hollywood star whose problems were greater than her strength to bear them. But there is something that sets her apart in death as there was something that set her apart in life. Some quality of universality to which people instinctively respond. The things that struck her down were things against which we all fight. Maybe we sensed this all along, and maybe that was the secret of her extraordinary appeal. Life had conspired against her from the start, and its subtlest conspiracy was that when it seemed, as it must have seemed to her, that she had won, it was the sign that she had lost. The Los Angeles Medical Examiner said today her death is still unexplained, but there was always something about her that was unexplained. Her story is the stuff of legend, and like all legends, it lends itself to be interpreted as you wish to interpret it. She was, as Clifford Odets said, one of those accompanied all her life by a dark companion. It drew her to destruction. This is Charles Collingwood. Good night.
Eyewitness, Marilyn Monroe, Why? Has been brought to you by Texaco and your Texaco dealers in all 50 states, where you can trust your car to the man who wears the star. The excerpt from the motion picture The Misfits, released through United Artists. Origination from Television City, Hollywood. Next Friday and every Friday at this same time for the drama of big events, keep an eye on Eyewitness. This program, pre-recorded, is produced by CBS News, which has sole responsibility for the news judgments, the contents, and the editing. This is John Harlan speaking.